Hi everyone, it's Sonia here. I want to give you a little down low on the scandalous situation with politicians traveling after telling the rest of us to stay home. It's been happening in the US and in Canada. Now we actually have this whole big long list of rules for thee, but not for me, people. But there's like a kind of bright side to this, which I want to share with you, which you won't believe what the Canadian government is doing now concerning travelers. Surprise, surprise. And a lot of mixed messages. Before I start, I just want to let you know, those of you who know me know that for years I struggled with sleep problems of all kinds. I'm happy to report that that has changed completely. I haven't been having any problems sleeping. And I credit this C60 EVO, which I liked so much. I asked them to give me a link so that I could tell you guys about it and you could get a discount. This is C60, carbon 60, processed as ESS60. You know how it is. You can't like make medical claims here. So basically all I can tell you is that it fixed my sleep problems. But I did make a video reviewing the product, which I'll give you a link to below, which will detail my entire experience. If you're interested, please click the link below for more information and you will get $10 off with the discount coupon. So check it out. Okay guys, so a growing list of Canadian politicians caught traveling abroad despite the pandemic. So yes, all these people who've been telling us to not go anywhere, turns out they go places. I'm going to tell you about the Canadian ones, but I just want to point out, which I'm sure you've already heard, Dr. Deborah Birx, who had been telling everyone to stay home, finally went to see her relatives, which caused a scandal and then led her to quit her job. She had been telling everyone not to go anywhere, but then she finally did it herself. And this is how she explained it. She said, "My daughter hasn't left that house in 10 months. My parents have been isolated for 10 months. They've become deeply depressed, and I'm sure many elders have, as they've not been able to see their sons, their granddaughters. My parents have not been able to see their surviving son for over a year. These are all very difficult things." So, you know, I don't blame her for doing it, but there is, of course, the element of hypocrisy of telling everyone else don't do that and then doing it herself. But here's the thing. Like everyone else, elected officials are fully aware that restrictions suck. And many of them get to a point where they decide that following their own guidelines sucks more than the risk of not following them. They tell you to wear masks, but they don't really want to wear masks themselves. They tell you not to get a haircut, but they like to get haircuts. Sometimes they even like to get haircuts without wearing a mask. They also like to visit their families for the holidays, while you stay home. And everyone else should do as they say and not as they do. But that's not how it works. So this has been going on in Canada as well now. There's a list. Ontario Finance Minister Rod Phillips has resigned from cabinet after returning from vacation. When these people do go on vacation and get caught, they come under fire. So just to sum it up, what happened was he went on vacation. And then it was a whole big thing, except for the fact that apparently Doug Ford, Ontario's premier, knew about this before. So it's like the politicians, you know, they know, the health minister, the ministers, and, you know, these important people, they do it and they know that other people are doing it. And the idea, I guess, was to just keep it on the down low. And then when it came to light, the finance minister resigned. But, you know, Doug Ford knew about it. He didn't resign. Of course, he didn't go anywhere though, right? But it just goes to show, like, I think they know it's unsustainable and they don't want it to apply to them any more than the rest of us want it to apply to us. But of course, you know, if you or I go somewhere, it's not going to make the news, but it makes the news when they do it because they're the ones telling us not to do it. So, Alberta Municipal Affairs Minister Tracy Allard has apologized for taking off to the balmy sand and surf of Hawaii while the rest of the province was locked down in a COVID-19 pandemic. As she said, they'd been going to Hawaii for holidays for 17 years and they wanted to keep carrying on the tradition. Why let the current situation stop you? Gotta live your life. I'm truly and deeply sorry. I know I'm held to higher expectations and I hope to earn trust. I hope to earn trust back going forward. Michael Forian, press secretary to Alberta's health minister, came under scrutiny after his Instagram showed pictures of what looked like him having Christmas in Hawaii. Press secretary to the health minister. So ironic. He deleted 2 of his social media accounts, but, you know, too little too late. In Manitoba, the NDP is going to remove MP Nikki Ashton from critic roles after she traveled to Greece to see sick relatives. Nikki Ashton, a member of parliament in Manitoba, said she spent the holidays at home before traveling to Greece to be with her ailing grandmother. The NDP released a statement about an hour after her tweet, saying NDP leader Jagmeet Singh was not informed beforehand about her travel and that Ashton will be removed from her critic roles. Like, when the little people do it, I mean the little politicians like Nikki Ashton, it's a whole big thing. They lose their job. But remember early in the year when Justin Trudeau went out to the Maritimes, when we were in the first lockdown, he got to go to his country house, but it was like, oh, well, hey, you know, he's the prime minister, so the rules don't apply to him. Well, they do, but, you know, hey, cut him some slack. This has been going on the whole time. He didn't lose his job. Quebec MNA Arcan returns from Barbados, says he's sorry but won't resign. Liberal MNA Pierre Arcan had a little vacation. Will he step down? No. Oh, and in Alberta too. Facebook photos show Alberta UCP MLA spent Christmas in Mexico. There's the damning photo, which he posted, Merry Christmas from our cave to yours. Wasn't exactly hiding it. Posted a Christmas from an adventure park near Cancun, Mexico, despite also having posted government messages encouraging Albertans to stay home. I'm starting to kind of get the feeling that if you're a public figure and you're a politician and you are going to travel, at least don't be a person who has told other people not to travel. Maybe if you're a politician and you're like, yes, it's fine, you should travel, just take precautions, stay in quarantine, then when you travel, you won't lose your job, you know? And Saskatchewan cabinet minister who traveled to California over the holidays apologizes for an error in judgment. Joe Hargrave is apologizing after it was revealed earlier this week he had taken a trip to Palm Springs to finalize the sale of a personal property. So it was like a business trip, actually. What was he supposed to do? Not sell the property? The NDP said the public deserves more than just an apology from Hargrave. He should no longer be a cabinet minister in Premier Moe's cabinet. So he's telling the people of Saskatchewan one thing, demanding one thing of Saskatchewan people, but doing something very different when it comes to his own cabinet members. Again, it would probably be okay if they traveled if they didn't tell everyone else to stay home. But, you know, I'm sure they're under a lot of pressure to tell people not to go anywhere. I have some sympathy for them, actually. I mean, it certainly is rules for thee, not for me. Or so it seems. Although, let's not forget, these are not actually rules. They're just recommendations. There's no actual rule for anyone not to travel. But at the same time, they're probably under an insane amount of pressure to make these recommendations to the public. And maybe some of them don't even believe in it. But what are they going to do? Speak out? Then they'll for sure lose their jobs. It's like they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. I mean, look, I'm taking devil's advocate position here a little bit, but there's a reason. I don't think that the solution is cancel culture, fire everyone who takes vacation, because we're getting mixed messages. While on the one hand, we're being told to stay home. On the other hand, I think that the government actually doesn't want people to stay home. I'll tell you why. This article, which is in French from La Presse, says travelers will be eligible for an aid of $1,000 from Ottawa. So people who've been traveling, whether it was for essential travel or not, could benefit from a federal aid of $1,000 to compensate revenues lost during their quarantine. So if you don't have some kind of salary insurance that covers you during quarantine, the federal government will give you money to offset the cost of staying home. I mean, to offset the losses incurred by staying home. So that's interesting. Because look, right now, travel is not forbidden. There aren't any restrictions on it. Only now that you have to have a negative test to come back into the country and you have to do this quarantine. But there's nothing at all legally telling people that they can't go somewhere. Just a lot of measures to make it really unpleasant and difficult to make people kind of not want to do it. But there's absolutely nothing forbidding it. Let's remember that. It's not illegal to leave. And it would be actually, I think, way more worrying if it was. Because then you'd really be trapped. So I think it's good that there is no ban on leaving the country. I mean, I don't even know if that would be legal. Would be like maybe chipping away at the charter if you start telling Canadians you can't go places. Now, there could be countries that won't let Canadians in. That's their business. But for our government to tell us that we can't go somewhere, that would be pretty serious. So I'm glad that that doesn't exist right now. And also, I don't think that our government wants people to not go anywhere because it'll destroy the airline industry completely. And what they're looking at here is if travel is restricted more, what's going to happen is they're going to have to bail out Air Canada, and that's going to cost a lot of money. So I think that what they're doing is they're looking at it like, let's make it easier for people to do their quarantine so that they do continue to travel. See what I mean? Mixed messages. We've got, ministers telling us don't go anywhere, but our federal government is kind of hinting that they don't want to discourage us. As long as we don't bring the COVID back, take a test before you come home, they'll even give you money to do your quarantine after. Our federal government is kind of saying, oops, we just sort of overlooked something. They're saying that when they offered this $1,000 that people would get upon returning, it was so that people who have to travel for work but don't have paid sick leave from their employer wouldn't have to choose between going on the trip for work and then having 2 weeks of unpaid leave versus not going on a business trip. And somehow they just sort of overlooked that this applied to everyone, not just people who are going on trips for work. Personally, I don't really buy this explanation. I think they did know, and I think they did do it on purpose so that people wouldn't stop traveling. So that's really what's happening. And I don't think people should be getting fired. And I think they should just be more transparent, more honest about things when it comes to travel. We don't recommend it, but if you need to do it, just be aware you need to prove you don't have the thing when you come home, and then you have to stay in your apartment. But the government might give you money to do that. They should just be honest about the situation, and then nobody would have to get fired when they go somewhere for vacation. So that's my take on it. I'm kind of like alarmed at how people are reacting, like, fire them all, they went on vacation, look at them, look what they're doing. It's like people are begging to be imprisoned. People are like, oh, please keep us safe, don't let anyone leave the country. I don't think it's a good idea. Our economy can't take it. Airline industry can't take it. Our government does not want to bail out the airline industry. So you're gonna have to find another way to work around the problem. Anyway, I thought you might find this interesting. So let me know what you think. Thank you for supporting my channel on Patreon, which helps to keep my channel going. And also thank you for checking out the link for the C60 EVO, which I truly love. And your purchase also does help support my channel. Thank you so much for joining me in the live chat. And God bless you guys. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.